is on how to write a proposal. And this can be for various assignments. Sometimes I'm asking you to create some sort of project, but before you go on to the project, I want you to have a proposal. And so the proposal is really just kind of a way for me to understand if you know everything that you're going to be doing in the project, but also it's a way for you to practice your writing, and more specifically the ACE structure of writing using the Hawk Talk cards. So let's go and take a look and just refresh ourselves on these Hawk Talk cards right now. So we have an overview here of all of our basic cards. And for right now, we're focused mostly on these three up here, okay? We aren't looking at these two right now, okay? Not that these aren't important, but they're a little bit higher level, and we're just not ready for that yet. So we're just looking at pose, clarify, and fortify. So again, with the pose, this is your answer to the proposal question. So let's take the example of our history assignment here, or excuse me, our science assignment. We'll go to the elaborate a science plate tectonics model. So we are looking to write a 3 to 5 paragraphs elaborating on our proposal idea using the Hawk Talk cards. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to address the question. So we can take the question, which is right here, and we can go ahead and press copy. That's how I like to do it. And we'll go ahead and we'll open up a new document. Go ahead and hot claw new Google Doc. And then you can go ahead and paste. I like to paste with no formatting so it doesn't make it all weird. So I go ahead and paste without formatting. Now I have how can you create a physical or virtual model that helps to convey your understanding of how plate tectonics work. So first off, we can go through and we can look at what to keep and then what not to keep. So let's go ahead and I'll scroll in, or I'll zoom in a little bit here. So how can you create a physical or virtual model that helps convey your understanding of how tectonic plates work? Let's go ahead and just start changing this into a statement by crossing out all the question words. So we'll go ahead and cross out how. Okay, that's a question word. The question mark makes it a question as well. So can you create a physical or virtual model that helps you convey your understanding of how tectonic plates work? Okay. We crossed out how and the question mark. So let's type that out and see what it looks like. So then we got, can you create a physical or virtual model that helps to convey your understanding of how tectonic plates work? And I'm not going to put any punctuation marks here yet because this is just auto-corrected, but I want this still to be lowercase. I'm going to go ahead and correct that. Physical. So can you create a physical or virtual model that helps to convey your understanding of how tectonic plates work? So then you can say, you can take the U now, and you're going to be answering, so you can just say U's taken out. I can create a physical model. So let's go and see what that looks like now. So we take the U out, and we'll place it. I can create a physical model, or if it's a virtual model, write virtual model, that helps to convey my understanding, not yours. I'm answering, so it's my understanding of how tectonic plates work by baking a layered cake and using frosting to highlight the boundary lines. Boundary, not boundary. Okay, so we got this first statement and we kind of boiled it down in this process here. How can you create a physical or virtual model that helps convey your understanding of how plate tectonics work? Now, if you want the 4 on this, because if you looked and listened to the rubric, the 4 is you really need 2 sentences for this pose paragraph. So this pose paragraph could be, I can create a physical model that helps to convey my understanding of how tectonic plates work by baking a layered cake and using frosting to highlight the boundary lines. I can use the different layers of the cake to represent the different pieces of the earth like the crust and mantle. Now, I want to make sure this is indented because this is my first paragraph. So now I have my first paragraph to my 3 to 5 paragraph proposal. My next paragraph, what I want to do now is I'm going to start building out the body paragraphs. The body paragraphs are going to be built out using clarify. So we're going to make the ideas clearer in our body paragraphs. So if we want a 4 and we're shooting for a 4, we can have 3 clarification paragraphs. And in each of those 3 clarification paragraphs, we can have 1 piece of evidence to support our clarification. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's look. So responding. So we're really trying to clarify, make clearer to the reader. The reader is me, Mr. Kapawal. I'm going to be reading it. We want to make sure that our idea is clear so that he approves, I approve your proposal. So I'm going to start with, in other words, so I'm going to go back. Oops. I'm going to go back here to my document. In other words, I will bake a cake first. The cake will have multiple, well, I want to be specific in here. So the cake will have 3 layers, okay? Each layer will represent a different part of the earth. The first layer will be the land. The second layer will be the crust. The third layer will be the Earth's mantle. Okay, so I've just explained part of my pose. I just said, in other words, I will bake a cake first. The cake will have 3 layers. Each layer will represent a different part of the earth. The first layer will be the land, the second layer will be the crust, and the third layer will be the earth's mantle. Well, actually, no, I forgot to use some textual evidence here. I wouldn't get a 4 or even a 3, I don't think, on that section of the rubric if I don't put in my fortification. So, according to the examples in the task, people have used cakes to show convergent boundaries, and when they are cut, they show a good cross-section that is similar to the Earth's. Okay. What I mean to say is, what do I mean to say? Well, I have this about the cake being layers. Let's go back to my frosting. So now I got to talk about the frosting. Okay. Baking a layered cake using frosting to highlight the boundary lines. Okay. So what I mean is, the frosting can be used to highlight boundary lines and show how the different plates interact with each other. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Well, we can go up and we can just take a look right here at the text itself. Can go back real quick. Plate tectonics. Stay with me, and we'll go and look at the actual passages here, and we'll look at the different boundaries. And we're showing convergent. So convergent boundaries where two tectonic plates push together. Sometimes one plate will move the other. This is called subduction. So we'll use FORTIFY. All right. So I got 1, 2, 3. We need the last one. Let's look back at our Hawk Talk cards. From what I understand. So I did, in other words, what I mean is, from what I understand. Or I could even do it similar to, but I'm going to do from what I understand. All right. So from what I understand, the subduction zone is where things like volcanoes form, not fall. According to the examples in the task, the layers of the cake can be used to show the subduction zone and how the boundaries push together to form a volcano. So I'm done with that paragraph. I have my clarification and I have my fortification. Let's go real quick to the directions of the elaborate task. I want to make sure that you guys, whenever there's a task like this, whenever elaborate task is available, I want to make sure that you guys, any writing task, that you're always looking at the rubric to make sure if you want to get a 4, you can get a 4. So we could end this essay now and still get a 4 in this column for depth because we did 4 to 5 paragraphs. We'll go over to our document and let's count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, an extra bonus layer for those of you who can would be the summarize. Okay. Some of you can do this, and I encourage you to if you can. Summarize is bringing all those ideas together, right? So what we're just doing actually is we're just taking what we've said. So we've built this house. We have the platform, the base of it, the foundation, which is our idea, the supporting walls that support the next layer of the house is the clarification statements, right? We have these clarifications of our bottom idea here. And then the fortification is kind of like the next layer to that, right? And then finally, the summarizing is really us talking about all 3 of these parts, the green, yellow, and the red. We're not into negotiation right now. We're not there yet, but we're going to talk about the green, yellow, and red in this summarize. So we can start summarizing by just saying the main point seem to be, this is my favorite one to use because it doesn't tell everybody that you're writing your conclusion by saying I'm writing my conclusion now. When you say we've concluded, you're basically saying here's my conclusion. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. It's just my preference to use the main points seem to be, okay? So we'll use the main points seem to be, and we'll practice just doing a summary paragraph. The main points seem to be, okay, that, and we're just going to summarize everything. So I can create a physical model that helps to convey my understanding of how tectonic plates work by baking a layered cake and using frosting to highlight the boundary lines. I can use the different layers of the cake to represent the different pieces of the earth, like the crust and the mantle. I can just take this posed idea and reword it and repose it down here as long as I feel like it encapsulates everything that I talked about in the body paragraphs. So I'm going to do that. The main points seem to be that I can use, that I can bake a cake to represent the Earth's tectonic plates and their boundaries. I will be focusing on the convergent boundaries and the formation of volcanoes in the subduction zone. All right. This will help to convey what I understand about the way plate tectonics work. All right, now let's reread that for clarity and for editing purposes, because we go back to this assignment, some of the stipulations for getting a 4 is that there are no grammar or spelling errors. So if you have no grammar, or there are few grammar and spelling errors for a 3, so if you want a 3 or a 4, you need to edit your stuff. You need to go and take that extra time. And also, I would label, because you can see right now that it is not labeled. I would really like you to get in the habit of labeling your work. Last name, first name. You can put the date, but when it's electronic, it usually has the date. So I would just put the name of the assignment. If we went science, and then we went plate tectonics, and then we finally did elaborate, because that is the assignment that we're working on. All right, so let's go ahead and reread this for clarity and editing purposes. I can create a physical model that helps to convey my understanding of how tectonic plates work by... You can literally use that as yours. Take it, write it down now, and then just complete the sentence like I did. By... What are you going to do? What's your model going to be? It's not... Everybody's not going to be baking a cake, I can tell you that. By baking a layered cake and using frosting to highlight the boundary areas. I can use the different layers of the cake to represent the different pieces of the earth, like the crust and mantle. Body paragraph 1. In other words, I will bake a cake first. The cake will have 3 layers. Each layer will represent a different part of the earth. The first layer will be the land. The second layer will be the crust. The third layer will be the earth's mantle. According to the example in the task, people have used cakes to show convergent boundaries, and when they are cut, they show a good cross-section that is similar to the Earth's. Body paragraph 2. What I mean to say is that frosting can be used to highlight boundary lines and show how the different plates interact with each other. According to the text, convergent boundaries are boundaries that are pushed together. This causes things like volcanoes to happen because they create areas known as subduction zones. Okay. From what I understand, the subduction zone is where things like volcanoes form. According to the example in the task, the layer cake can be used to show the subduction zone and how the boundaries push together to form a volcano. Conclusion statement, summary statement. The main points seem to be, again, you don't need to have this. This is like an extra piece right here. This is the 5th paragraph. And according to the rubric, you only need 4 to 5 paragraphs to get a 4, okay? So keep an eye on that. If you're not comfortable with the summary portion yet, don't write it. The main points seem to be that I can bake a cake to represent the Earth's tectonic plates and their boundaries. I will be focusing on the convergent boundaries and the formation of volcanoes in the subduction zone. This will help to convey what I understand about the way plate tectonics work. So I just really, in this last conclusion sentence, I made sure to connect it all the way back to my original thought. And my original thought had to do with the original question. And the original question was, how can you create a physical or virtual model that helps to convey your understanding of how tectonic plates work? Now, let's go through together on the rubric and make sure that I have everything I need to get a 4 or at least a 3 at the very, very least. So if I want a 4, I need to rephrase the question as a statement, and the idea was full and complete. There were no grammar or spelling errors. I didn't see any grammar or spelling errors, so right now I think I have a 4. If I missed a few, the least I will get is a 3, but I made sure to check off. I rephrased the question, I made it a statement, okay, and I completed my idea. I said the way that I'm going to do this is by baking a layered cake and using frosting to highlight the boundary lines. That is my complete thought. Okay, so I completed my thought. That's a 4. Clarify. The post statement has at least 2 relevant sentences that explain the original thought in more detail. There are no spelling errors. So let's go over to my pose statement. Clarify. I have 2 sentences. Oh, actually, I have 3 sentences. So I went above and beyond. If you look for my pose statement, I have 1, 2, 3 clarification statements. And my pose statement has 2 sentences. So I have gotten a 4 for that because I've included all of what it's asked for in the clarify. Fortify. Did you strengthen what you said by adding evidence or examples? Did I get a 4? Let's see. Each clarification statement has at least one piece of evidence or an example, and there are no spelling or grammar errors. If you have a few spelling or grammar errors, but you have all this stuff, you'll still get a 3, and that's a really good score. So let's look at FORTIFY in my document here. I have, in other words, how can I tell if there's, oh, well, I can actually look for these signaling phrases that tell me that there is going to be a reference or fortification. There's some sort of support being made here. And this support is being used from the examples in our assignment. So according to the examples in the task, people have used cakes to show convergent boundaries. When they are cut, they show a good cross-section that is similar to the Earth's. And we saw that, we saw that by looking just right at the examples, just like it said. So I could look back at your fortification statement, and I could see that indeed you did fortify using the material that was provided, the resources that were provided. Let's look to the next clarification. Oh, boom, again, we can see without even reading fully that there is, according to the text, so now a textual evidence is being used as support, being used to fortify. And then let's look at the third paragraph. So from what I understand, it's another clarification. It tells, I know that it's clarification because it's a signal phrase, okay? It is a transitionary phrase. From what I understand, I'm continuing to build upon that idea that I put up at the very top about my physical model, everything connecting back to this question, okay? We're just developing our ideas here. According to the examples, so boom, again, I have another piece of evidence right inside my essay, right inside my proposal. So let's look at the rubric. One piece of evidence. Boom, that should be a 4. If there are spelling and grammar errors that I just didn't see, well, guess what? I'm still going to get a 3, and that's still a really good score. So we've gone over the ways that we can write this, how to set it up if you're using a Google Doc, how to break down the question so that you can rephrase it as a statement, and then we actually just wrote a sample proposal together using the Hawk Talk cards, and they are again available on your Google Classroom. They should be at the top of our stream. So if there's any more questions, please reach out to me. Remember, you can always go to our website. And you can always go to Schoology, and we're in science right now, so you can go to the parking lot and you can fill out a form real quick. It's not too many questions, and then I get the question and then I'll answer it as soon as I possibly can. I hope this helps.